Sup guys? This is a relatively small room. There are plenty of other large rooms in this house. This just happens to be one of the smaller ones. And evidently, although this was never deliberately planned, I've ultimately managed to squish in 8 speakers into this tiny room. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I'm just gonna demo the sound output from these guys and show you a little bit of how much control I have over these guys. Let's start off with the Wharfedales. So those are the Wharfedales. They're being powered by a Topping PA7 Plus. That's the only amplifier that's turned on right now. So that's just a demo of the Wharfedales. I'm going to shut off that amp. And let's demo the Klipsch RP600Ms. The Mark 1s, the OGs. Let me turn on the amp for that. Relays click on. So those are just the Klipsch RP600Ms. I've shut off the amp for the Wharfedales. And as you can see, the 600Ms are powered by a Crown XLS 2502. Now let me shut this guy off. And let's turn on the amp for the Klipsch R50Ms. Alright, I left them in standby. Let's take them out of standby. And here we go. Let's hear the R50Ms along with the RP600Ms. Same source signal. Alright, so now we've got 4 speakers going at once. Let's try the Q Acoustics as well. Q Acoustics 3020Is in a graphite gray. Currently being powered by a Topping PA5 Mark II Plus. This is the Mark II. I've heard of QC issues with the Mark I. Haven't had any issues with this guy. That amp is now powered on. Now we should have 6 speakers going on at once. Let's do it. So these aren't actually playing yet, and that's because I have a little switch box here that reroutes the DAC's output to several other different amps. So let me reroute it to the Acoustics. We should be good now. I've got 6 speakers going. Let's also turn on the Wharfedales as well. Then the amp for the Wharfedales is on. Everything should be playing the same source. So right now, audio is coming out through the Wharfedales and the Acoustics. The cool thing about this is I can actually have all 4 of these guys playing, but I can also... Sorry about the cut, guys, but I just wanted to make sure I got this right. So this box switches between 2 different DACs, and it's hooked up to my amplifier for the Wharfedales. This switches to... it switches between a DAC that I have in the back, a Cirrus Logic DAC, but it's actually Cirrus Logic's flagship DAC, and it's pretty damn good for the price. So that switches between the Cirrus Logic and the Spage A20D. This is the V2 version. This one actually makes use of an AKM DAC chip. Their V1 was a Sabre chip. So this switches between Cirrus Logic and AKM. You can compare the sound signatures of DACs. And honestly, I can't tell the difference. The Cirrus Logic is just as good as an AKM, at least in my system. You could say that you have a more resolving system, that you can actually tell, you can actually discern between the 2 DAC chips. Maybe you can. Maybe you can't. All I can say is that in my system, whether you're listening to these power amps power these speakers, or you're listening to these power amps power headphones, because you can hook up headphones to power amplifiers for speakers. You just got to make a specific type of cable. So I could not tell the difference with anything I was listening to. So yeah, you can compare DACs with this switch. And with this guy set at the upright position, the Q Acoustics is getting the line level signal from the AKM DAC. Set into this third position, that signal gets routed to this box, which feeds this amplifier. So I can actually have my AKM DAC feed either my Q Acoustics or my Wharfedales. So I can actually switch audio playback between my front side speakers and my two rear speakers. With that in the third position and this knob set to 1, you should be hearing this DAC feeding this amp, feeding just my Wharfedales. So no Q Acoustics for now. Now if I switch this knob over to the second position, well, no, let's actually try this. Yeah, if I switch this knob over to the upright position, it'll reroute the signal from this DAC back to the Q Acoustics. So I can actually switch signals from my rear speakers to my front speakers. And I only run in stereo. I only run in pairs of stereo. So you're going to actually hear the sound go from the front to the back and vice versa. Q Acoustics, Wharfedales, Q Acoustics, Wharfedales. So now the knob is just set into an output that I don't have hooked up. And I can switch the Wharfedales back to using the Cirrus Logic DAC, and you'll get sound. This output is no longer working. Well, this input is no longer working because the DAC's line outs have been rerouted to an output that I don't have hooked up. Now I'm going to have all 4 speakers, the Wharfedales and the Q Acoustics, playing simultaneously. And there you have it, guys. Hope you enjoyed.